Okay. Hi, I'm Ben. Welcome to Unpolished. I want to do a quick video on how the heck you fit in creativity into a regular, ordinary life. Because it's something I've been thinking a lot about recently. Um, right now, this is a Saturday night. My wife is out with her friends. They're watching the royal wedding. I've just put my kids to bed, so they're down the corridor behind me. So if they walk out of bed, normally happens around 8 to 10 times per night. So they might end up coming out and saying hello. I don't know. We'll see. But it's something I think that's very interesting, and it's something that I've been thinking a lot about recently, especially since I saw this. So I was having a look at this, I think, a very interesting picture, and it's all about how creative people can work. And when I look at that and I see that red represents creative time, it kind of bums me out a little bit. I get a bit, I guess, maybe jealous or envious or frustrated, or I just think, how on earth am I supposed to produce anything creative when these people are taking 8 to 10 hours every single day to create something, where I struggle to fit in half an hour. And this used to be something I used to think a lot about, especially look at Flannery O'Connor, which I think is amazing because it's just sleep. There's this little section which is food and leisure. I heard she loved gardening. And then it's like 3 hours of creative time, and there's just food and then sleep, and that's her whole day. It sounds amazing. I've also been reading a book by Charlotte Wood called The Writer's Room, which is really interesting, and I totally recommend it to you guys if you're interested at all in a writer's process. It's writers interviewed by Charlotte Wood, who wrote The Natural Way of Things and has written a variety of different really accomplished books. So it's really interesting insights into the writing process from both sides, from the interviewer and the interviewee. But I was reading the one with Christos Tsiolkas, and he was talking about how he has a studio set. Hang on, I heard some noise. He was talking about how he has a whole studio set up, that he actually leaves his house and he goes and works in his little office that he rents out, and he works professionally from there. And I was just thinking, and it's that whole thing again that we do as creative people. We sort of we look at other people who are creative and we compare ourselves. I think all human beings do this. Am I doing as well as this other person? And inevitably
Dad?
Yep.
Is Mommy here yet?
No, Mummy's still out, mate.
Oh.
Yeah, so when you look at other creative people, you keep looking at them and they have these lives that seem to, I guess when you look at the most successful, their lives seem to have all this room for their creativity, and when you look at your own life, you're like, I barely manage to fit in half an hour if I'm lucky every day. So how am I supposed to get to this spot? That old thing about you do 10,000 hours and you'll become an expert at any one thing. It's tricky if you can do half an hour a day. I don't know what the maths is on that. Hang on, I'll figure it out. So we got 30 minutes a day. No, wait, let's go back. Hours, right, times 60 divided by 30 means in 55 years I'll be an expert writer. But the reality is that not everyone is like this. First of all, I think we need to take heart that not everyone can actually fit in these huge chunks of creativity, and there's still some fantastic work going on with people fitting their creativity around, making a living, paying bills, the normal everyday life stuff. I was reading a post by Annabelle Smith, and she's got a really great series on her blog. And if you're interested, read all her blog posts, because she has a lot of interesting stuff to say about writers and especially the publishing business. But she has this one called How Writers Earn Their Money, and she has an ongoing series of that. I'll put a link in the description. And one of the things that she said was, let me read it directly. While a handful of top names might get 5-figure advances each year, the majority of Australian writers, especially those writing literary fiction and or published by independent publishers, are lucky to get advances of $5,000. It is not at all uncommon for debut authors with small presses to receive no advance whatsoever. So that is actually what is the norm. Actually, I guess probably the norm is being unpublished completely, right? So not having any success, or being a painter, or being a musician who just plays because they love it, or paints because they love it. And the rarity is probably getting paid at all. But even if you are paid, say you get paid $5,000 as an advance, I mean, a book can take years upon years of editing and work and research. Like, say it takes you 2 years, $5,000 for 2 years worth of work. Does not a living make. So I wanted to offer a few things from me, because I am one of these people. I'm a full-time high school teacher, so that takes up a lot of my life, and fair enough, it's a fairly demanding, intense, emotional, rewarding job, so it should take up a fair chunk of my life. But I'm also a full-time dad, I'm a full-time husband. I have a lot of other interests as well. I try to exercise, I try to go to gym, I have friends, and just the everyday responsibilities can eat up so much. And so by the time I finish putting the kids to bed, who you can probably hear right now, I think they're playing Hot Wheels. When I'm finished putting the kids to bed, it's normally about 8:30, 9 o'clock. And then after a full day's worth of work and all that, I get maybe half an hour to an hour really solid time to work on what I'm doing. But I want to say, the thing that I've always found is I push into that pressure. I've always found when I have less time to spare that I actually become more productive with the time I do have. So for me, when I'm on school holidays, which, you do a bit of work in the holidays, but you do get a rest. In that rest time, I become the most unproductive person ever. I'll just sit on the couch and I'll watch YouTube videos, or I'll watch Netflix, and I'll just do absolutely nothing productive. But when I have a full day and it forces me to eck out like that half an hour, I really make use of that half an hour. If I have half an hour in which to be creative every day, I make sure I use that. So there is that. Yeah, mate. Telescope? Okay, sure. Go back to bed. So first of all, when you have less time, you make better use of it. So I think pressing into the pressure and actually saying, I only have half an hour in which to do this, actually makes you more creative quickly, which I think can help. And the second thing, I think, especially when it comes to a family, is they make your life 1,000 times richer. And I think anyone who's watching this video who has kids or has a significant other can really attest to that everything becomes better with them. There's that old thing, like I hear it a lot, where people say, I need to travel a lot before I get married. So I need to experience the life a lot before I get married. And that has never made sense to me. When I got married when I was 28. When I got married, that's when the adventure really started. That's when I started to have a lot of these cool moments, because I had someone to share it with. We went traveling, we've driven across Australia, we've done all these really cool things together. And so it's the same with kids. I'll see if I can find a photo of it, but I've got a really great photo of my boys at my book launch. And I love that. I love them being a part of my life. They make me richer. They make me, the depth of what I'm able to feel is a lot more. Like I'll cry at the end of Toy Story 3 now. Andy says something about Woody, he'll never give up on you. That's all Woody wanted. He just wanted validation. Makes me tear up every time, because I'm a bit richer emotionally. And I think I hear people, I read people saying it, and I hear people saying it, this idea that their kids are something that they have to work around to fit in their creativity. And I know where that's coming from, because that is true. But I want to encourage you guys to think about that your kids aren't an obstacle in the way of your creativity. They actually make you more creative. And the depth of life that you bring and the humanity that you bring to anything that you create now, because of these responsibilities, I think becomes a lot more richer. You become a more interesting human being, I think, when you have any type of responsibility, whether it be work, whether it be significant other, whether it be just household financial stuff. I think having those things makes you more able and ready and value things maybe a little bit more. And so I value my creative time now. Even though it's half an hour to an hour, I value it more. And I think that's because of my wife. It's because of my kids. So that's it from me. I wanted to end off with just a couple of books that I've been reading. I recently finished this one off. Carly Napier, Secrets at should I cut that? I don't know. The Secrets at Ocean's Edge. It's really cool. I met Carly at a book reading that we did, and I had just signed with my publisher to publish my book, and I met Carly. She hadn't signed yet with anybody, and so we were chatting about writing, and then we've both had a published book now, so it's really cool to see that. It's a lovely book. It's absolutely lovely. If I'm completely honest, not normally my thing. When there's characters in books who just miscommunicate and sort of lie to each other, gosh, it gets me. Same with Pride and Prejudice. Like, just talk to each other about your problems. I get that you're in a different time, and anyway. But beautifully written book, beautifully written characters as well, with a lot of depth and nuance, which I don't think that you'd normally find in this sort of book. So totally recommend this book. If you're interested in historical fiction, if you're interested in relationships and dramas and things like that, definitely worth picking up a copy. The other book I've just started reading is this one, Emily O'Grady. This is the Vogel winner for this year, 2018, and it's so far a fantastic book. It's told from the perspective of, I think she's 9, how old is she? 10-year-old cub. It's a very interesting read, but it's about a family whose her grandfather was a famous serial killer. And so now she lives in a town with this stigma surrounding her. And you can see where I'm up to, That's out of focus. Not far, but I'm very much enjoying it so far. That's all from me, guys. Thanks for listening. As always, like, subscribe, share. I'd love to hear. Again, I'd love to see comments, things from you guys. How do you fit in your creativity? And has anything I said resonated with you today? I'd love to hear. Argue with me, I guess. I don't know. Just comment. I'd love to hear from you. Thanks. That's all. Bye.